You know, if you've ever spent Christmas in the UK, you definitely know the sound. It's that sharp crack that echoes around the dinner table. And it's always followed by two things: a collective groan at a truly terrible joke, and the sight of everyone, from your granddad to your little cousin, wearing a flimsy paper hat. It's the Christmas cracker, and it's a wonderfully strange and very, very British tradition.
But it makes you wonder, right? Why do they do it? Why the loud bang? Why the tiny, let's be honest, often useless plastic gift? And, most importantly, why on earth do perfectly dignified adults, and yep, even the royal family, happily pop on a colorful paper crown for their Christmas dinner? Well, the answer is hiding inside that little cardboard tube. So let's pull this tradition apart, piece by piece, and see what makes it tick. Or, what makes it snap. Okay, so for anyone who's maybe not familiar, this is the object of our affection. It's a festive table decoration, and two people pull it apart. The person who gets the bigger end gets to keep what's inside. And inside, you'll always find three things: that paper crown, a small trinket, and a little slip of paper with a motto, or more famously, a really bad joke.
Now, the story of how this whole thing came to be is just a brilliant piece of Victorian ingenuity. It's a tale of sweets, a little bit of romance, and a crackling fire. And it all starts with a trip to Paris.
Our story kicks off with a London confectioner, a guy named Tom Smith. Back in the 1840s, he was on a trip to Paris, and he was totally captivated by the local bonbons. Sugared almonds wrapped up in a twist of pretty paper. He brought the idea back to London, but he added his own romantic twist, a small love poem tucked inside each one.
So the original bonbons, they sold pretty well, but Tom, he wanted something more. The real breakthrough, as the story goes, came while he was just sitting by his fireplace. The crackle and pop of a log gave him this amazing flash of inspiration. By the 1860s, he'd perfected the snap. From there, things evolved really fast. The sweet was replaced by a little gift, his sons added the paper hats, and by the 1930s, those romantic poems had officially given way to the groan-worthy jokes we all know and love today.
So let's break down those three key parts. How do they actually work, and where did each piece of this weird tradition even come from? First up, that all-important bang.
It feels a little bit like magic, but it's actually just some very clever, very simple chemistry. The sound isn't from gunpowder or anything nearly that dramatic. It's something much more sensitive.
Here's how it works. Inside every single cracker is something called a snap, which is made of two strips of card. One strip is painted with a tiny amount of a chemical called silver fulminate, and this stuff is extremely sensitive to friction. The other strip has an abrasive surface, kind of like sandpaper. So when you pull the cracker, the strips rub together, that friction creates a tiny spark, and that detonates the chemical. It's that tiny, supersonic explosion that creates that super satisfying pop.
Okay, so that explains the bang. But what about the hat? This is, you could argue, the silliest part of the entire tradition. Why does everybody suddenly become royalty for an hour?
Well, believe it or not, the tradition of wearing festive hats is much older than the cracker itself. It's thought to date all the way back to the Roman festival of Saturnalia, where decorative headgear was a big part of the celebration. It also links to the British tradition of Twelfth Night, where a king or queen of the feast would be chosen and crowned to oversee the whole party. Tom Smith's sons just cleverly tapped into this ancient custom and popped it right inside their new invention.
And finally, we get to the heart of the cracker, the message inside. And this part really shows you a major shift in tone, from the sort of earnestness of the Victorian era to the silliness of today.
The original crackers, they had these heartfelt, if maybe a little cheesy, love poems. But today, you're much more likely to find a classic pun that's so bad it's actually brilliant. Sometime around the 1930s, romance was officially out and humor was in. And not just any humor, but a very specific kind of pun that absolutely everyone can understand.
And that's the real secret, isn't it? The jokes are meant to be awful. That shared awfulness is a fantastic social leveler. Nobody can tell a joke like this badly. Everybody groans together, everyone laughs at the groans, and just for a moment the whole table is united in its appreciation of a truly terrible pun. It's a form of social glue.
But here's what's really fascinating to me. Crackers weren't just for Christmas. They became a kind of papery time capsule, reflecting all the trends and the major events of their day.
Tom Smith's company figured out pretty quickly that crackers could be themed for any occasion, and this was a brilliant piece of early marketing. It turned a simple novelty into a must-have collectible that really reflected the times. All of a sudden, you had crackers celebrating the suffragettes, war heroes, even Charlie Chaplin.
They became a way to mark global events, from the Spanish-American War to the discovery of Tutankhamun's tomb. Each one is an incredible, really unusual snapshot of social and political history.
And the cracker's appeal has clearly lasted. Just to give you an idea of its cultural grip, get this, the world's largest cracker was over 63 meters long. That's more than 200 feet. Can you even imagine the bang from that thing?
And it's not just a popular tradition, it's a prestigious one too. The original Tom Smith brand has held a royal warrant, which means they supply the royal household for over a century. So yes, that rumor that the king wears a paper hat at Christmas? It's probably true.
So the next time you pull a cracker, just remember what's really inside. It's not just a paper hat and a bad joke, but a piece of brilliant Victorian ingenuity, a little link to Roman festivals, and a tiny explosive artifact of social history. It really makes you wonder what other everyday traditions have a secret history just waiting to be cracked open.